What's up, y'all? Satu Dave with the Viking today, the one I did a few weeks ago. You get handheld for a minute here. I'm gonna do something a little different this week. So y'all know that Hot Rod was cool enough to let me buy that mill last weekend. So how we like to roll in our house anyhow, it's like I like my wife to have the nicest things. So back when we bought new motorcycles, that sort of thing, I let her get the new one and I'd ride the old one until the new one got scuffed up and beat up enough to where I feel like it was good for me, and then we'd switch and start to circle all over again pretty much. Wife likes new stuff anyhow, so it kind of works out that way. But having said that, so I got the mill, wife got that right there, which is basically a Smith machine, just fits in the corner. So our home gym, we need a little spice it up anyhow. So fighting a ton of injuries, both of us have for a number of years now, but like trying to stay healthy, and it's got to become a priority. So we're trying to spice it up, add a little something to the home gym. So we got the Smith machine and the power rack. I don't know if I can even see that shit or not. Yeah, power rack, dumbbells on the corner over here. We're getting a pretty good home gym going on, but I gotta thank my wife for letting me get that mill. So that's why I got the Smith, even though it's Smith's for me too. So hey, no lose situation right there, right? All right, I'm gonna take it out to the shop and we'll discuss a little more. All right, so here we are walking up towards the shop. Of course, we got dog. I'm gonna take you in this side first. So, you know, just like everybody else, I ain't got a whole lot of space. I gotta make it do with what I got, but I got my two motorcycles parked so I can get them out those doors. And the last time that I talked to you, the mill was sitting basically on the floor right there. Is as far as I could get it. So I'd already jacked my back up. So I used ATV jack, automotive jack, a come along, and a bunch of wood and scrap metal. And by the way, that's my CNC mill and CNC lathe right there. We drug that thing from there all the way over to here, basically. So you can kind of sort of see where it is now. I'm gonna try to get in and get you some better light here in a second, but I got it set up, got it running. Let me swing around here and we'll give you a better look at the mill here. Just want to show you how much of a shamble and mess my mill's in. There's my welders and stuff. There's my little mini mill. So I got it kind of set up and started figuring stuff out. This is an older style mill. They don't build them like this anymore. So to change gears, I got to get on top of there and change the belts, kind of like older drill presses and that sort of thing. It's not a variable speed, so a little bit harder, but all the ways, I cleaned all the ways of the mill. Oiled them up, make sure they were good. It does have a DRO, but I haven't hooked it up yet. I just basically want to throw in there, and you can see I got a little piece of aluminum, a little jig, kind of toe clamped in that right now. I'll just mess around, see what I can do. The problem is I have right now, let's sit down here, so I can show you right there. So the guy that owned this was pretty much doing automotive stuff, so he didn't need a great deal of stuff, so he just used a chuck for everything. If you're familiar or unfamiliar with machining, I guess I should say, a three-jaw drill chuck is good for drilling and that sort of thing, but you really shouldn't be milling with a three-jaw. It's just not what's set up for. So this thing is clamped up as it gets. It's still only, it won't hold a 3/16 end mill in there or a drill in there. Basically, it's 1/4 inch to like I think 5/8 or something. It's ungodly big on the top side, but the way the dude was doing everything, he was milling everything in there. So you know, at this point, it really not a great chuck at this point. So it's R8 collet. So in order to change the collet, there's a collet up in here. You gotta go to the top, just like a Bridgeport, unloosen that nut, drive it down, and then the collet will fall down. It's basically sitting on the taper inside the inside of that. So hopefully that makes sense. Give you a basic idea of what the table, you know, or the operations of what I'm doing here. So of course I had to order, you know, all the collet sets, the R8 collet sets. I ordered a new drill chuck that'll get me down to 1/32. So, you know, a lot of the small stuff for like drilling detents and that sort of thing. You can see on here is an old plate. So if you follow Chuck Nunface, you'll see he's got the old 550 scale. This is the actual little plate that aluminum plate that I basically decked down and made that fixture for that particular plate. I think this is both operations. I think that's the first operation there and the second operation there, if I remember right, but don't quote me on that. I don't remember. I got notes for all that stuff, but I don't even make those scales anymore anyhow. But so this is basic it, you know, just to show you the basic. So just locks the table, the ways. There's another one under here, basically, that locks it. And then you can basically just turn this little dial and you see the table. Can you see the table moving? I don't know from your reference points if you care or not. Well, if you can see it moving. But it moves nice and smooth, and same on this side. So you get another dial here, and you turn it here, and it moves the table there. I think everybody pretty much knows the basic operations in the mill, but just to show you. I was hoping that the dials would be a little better than what they are, but I don't know if it's going to come out on video or not, but every line's 2.5 thou, so I'm guessing this is probably metric. I didn't even look to see if this is made in America or not, but generally when you see that 2.5 thou per line, it's metric. So unfortunately, I didn't look at the dials before I bought it, but either way, it's still built like a pretty rich brick shit house. Like I said, it does have the Bridgeport DRO stuff on it, but I haven't even tried to hook it up, see if it worked. The guy said one direction didn't work. I can't remember what direction he said, so may have to get more DRO stuff, but man, and then you can see, I don't know, I should have went into it, but let's see if I can back up a little bit. Ugh. Hopefully this video ain't driving y'all crazy. So if you can see the channel that's right here, it was just saw cut, a machine where at the machine shop I used to work at. This is part of the crate that got a big machine got shipped on. I just went out with a torch and just cut the metal up to keep the metal. And that's little blue pieces, another piece I just cut off literally. When I had this thing sitting on the jack, sitting here, you know, sitting on the jack, I had to figure out a way to set it down on something and pull the jack out because I didn't want to leave it on the jack. So I basically just slapped these under here. These are like 16.5 inches tall. And then welded this little beam in here. And this basically the same thing on the back side. And then this just threw this up here because it was sitting there and welded it or tacked it, and same with that other beam. So it's just sitting on a temporary stand right now. So I got to figure out what height I want this table at, or if I want to get an adjustable hydraulic table. I messaged the guy off Marketplace, but he ain't called me back yet. And I was thinking about putting this on a hydraulic lift table, and then once I get it in position, I'll just cut some legs to kind of slide underneath it to kind of give it some support, because this sucker is heavy. Like, it took a lot of effort to get it over here from just the door just over there. It don't seem like it, but yeah, it was probably a good 4-hour operation to get it up and over here safely. And I about lost it once or twice. So let's just go into the grind room here. It's kind of giving you a sense of what's in the shop and that sort of thing. I know it's probably not the best video quality, but hey, this is Satu Dave. You didn't come here for the video quality. You came for the wonderful personality, didn't you? All right, we in the grind room. So in case you're wondering what my grind room is, it's basically just an old shed. Ain't that right, Leah? She says it is. All right. So you see I got a bunch of junk in here too. We're getting around to it, but somebody asked me to actually do a video on the grinding, like to show you how I do hollow grinds and that sort of thing. I don't think I'm any kind of expert enough to give advice, but I might do what I do, kind of like a tutorial kind of thing for how I do it so far. Let me turn my light on here. To give you guys a better idea. If you're interested in that, let me know. If not, then I'm just going to skip it, because it's going to take a good deal of effort to film something like that, because when you're grinding with ceramics, you can't have glass anywhere near it. If it spins off and hits this screen, it's going to immediately just destroy the screen. Also, if you have advice, like if you saw this video and you're a more experienced knife maker than I am, please, by all means, like any of this stuff, you see something that sticks out to you as like Rodney, if you see this and you see something about that mill that I need to know, hey, tell me, man. You got more experience than I do, or even if you just think you got something that I missed, hey, let me know. Same. So what I was going to get at is on the grinding, I think Precision Knife Works, who actually has his own knife company. He actually gave me a couple tips on some of the belts he uses and the jig he uses and that sort of thing. I asked him about sharpening, but I think he does hand sharpening afterwards. But anytime I do any videos, if y'all don't see, if you see something you disagree with, or you can improve upon the conversation, by all means, jump in there. Let me know. All right, I think we're done shop toured enough. Let me grab some stuff from inside and let's go over some things. All right, well, hope y'all don't mind a little more personal video this week. I know Leia she always wants to be in the video, but never gets to. So I'm gonna set her down, let her do her thing, even though she's not paying attention at all. Ugh. Hearing the gargoyle noises. It's just her gremlin noises, whatever. Yeah, so I just wanted to do this like a little more sitting in bullshit style, like I used to do. I used to sit in front of the camera and just kind of shoot the shit with you guys. So got to get the mill up and running, that sort of thing. Lots of pots in the fires kind of thing. I got a few attachments that I've got for the grinder that I kind of need to get worked out and that sort of thing. But I'm looking towards the next step. I'm still going to be doing regrinds. Y'all want regrinds and repairs. You want repairs. And I'm going to go over a few things here in a second that got sent in and one that got borrowed in. But I think the next step pretty much is going to be reblades for me. I think what I'm going to try to do is on the mill, you know, kind of rough everything out, send it out for heat treating. So I'm hoping maybe, like, I talked to Billy about it a little bit. I don't think he's quite ready for heat treating yet. He's just kind of getting into it. So maybe I'll hit up Jed or somebody else. But I got some 3V. So I got a little stick of 3V, 200 thou 3V. So I figured it's good enough to start with and make a few blades out of it, and then try to fit the locks, the detents, everything. So this would be a good challenge for me once I figured out if I get the mill sort of running. That's kind of sort of my next step thought process was anyhow. And I got a few that I fucked up grinding that are still sitting in that. I got a drawer over here full of parts and knives that I may or may not ever put back together. We'll see. We'll get down to it. We'll kind of just play it all by ear and see what happens. But I'm kind of sort of leaning towards trying to do something with that reblade and that sort of thing, kind of sort of being the next step. I feel like logically it probably is. Let's see what else. Let's go ahead and flip the camera around. Well, I did do one knife earlier this week that was a Hinder that had lock rock, or what am I talking? Detent rock. They all had detent rock. Pretty bad actually. And he contacted Hinder, and Hinder said, you know, we ain't gonna do nothing about it. So I know there's some controversy, kind of, I don't know why controversy, but you know, hey, it is what it is. Like Knees put a video out about, you know, I think his angle was more about like the hardness of steel, which there's a ton of people that are really into the hardness of steel and getting into all that and making a knife better. And as a maker, I think you should always strive for better, but there's a reason why everybody does what they do. So, you know, I'm not here to tell anybody how to run their business, but somehow that was controversial because it was the only brand discussed by, according to some other people. I have two Hinders. One's Project X, one's an XM24. The XM24 is an older version before the Tri-Way. You could spine whack that till the cows come home. It's not doing a damn thing. My Project X, if I lightly spine whack it, it doesn't do anything. It's fine. If you hit it hard, like fairly hard, like you turn around and smack something, like, yeah, the lock fails. So those are my two for whatever that's worth. You know, like, but really, should that, like, I don't know. I guess every individual has to make that choice. Does that affect how you would want to buy something or not buy something? For me personally, I'm moving more into customs than I am production knives anyhow. So, I mean, there's still going to be productions floating around. There's still things that I'm intrigued with that I want to check out. And that's going to lead me right to the one that got loaned in from my bro, Chuck Nunface. So hang on one second. Let's do this. All right. So, I loaned this solo out to Chuck Nunface for him to check out, kind of review and stuff. You know, I'm guessing, knowing him, he got it, he liked it, but he didn't like it enough to do a real review on it. And it's kind of sort of a custom anyhow. So he doesn't do a ton of customs. Well, I guess he does, but he elected not to really do. I mean, I think he did an overview of it, kind of, sort of, but giving his opinion, I guess. But when he sent this one back, he knew that I've been kind of dying to check out a, what the hell they call that lock from Microtech. What is this called? Y'all tell me. I keep forgetting. So anyway, we were talking about production knives and not really being into production knife. This is just one that that's intrigued me, and this is the amphibian, and this is the aluminum scaled amphibian. So Chuck knew I wanted to check it out, so he included it back to let me check it out. I do like the knife, but I think it's kind of sort of, for me, slim. It's slim and it's skinny. It's not fat. So it's not like I have a hard time manipulating it, but it's harder to manipulate this than, say, an XM24 or even like a ZT or something like that. Like, it's just a little bit harder for me. It's not hard, and it's also kind of a little bit slick in the hands for me. It's like, I thought this aluminum would be a little more traction with all the milling and stuff that they did to it. But let me zoom in just a little bit so you can see it if you don't already know. So you see all the milling they got in it. I thought it would be a lot more traction, but man, honestly, for me, and I'm generally a greasy or dirty kind of person, skin wise at least. It just feels, when I pick it up, I'm like, wow, this is slick. So I generally don't like slick feeling knives. It's like VCP, like when the VCPs, when you pick them up, it very much reminds me of the same thing. There's traction, you got traction on it, but it's just a slippery feel to me. So that's kind of how I felt about this Microtech. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the design. Like, I think the design's good, and you know, every time I pick up a non-frame lock, it takes me a minute to adjust. It's a mental thing more than anything else, but I can't tell you how many times I pick this up and try to find a lock bar relief, you know, looking for that release on it. But overall, I'm really happy with the quality of the Microtech. And as far as like edge and that sort of thing, Chuck done put his edge on it, so it's got a good edge. I'm assuming that's his edge. If that's factory, that's fantastic. But I'm assuming this is probably Chuck done faced edge on this thing. I seen he had removed these little, I'm gonna call them oblong, terraced oblongs. How about that? Or how about teardrop oblongs? How about that? Teardrop steps. I don't know, whatever you call this little stud thingy bobber. I thought I'd like this more than what I do. I kind of really don't like it. It's not that, it doesn't kind of flow that well for me personally. Like it's not horrible, but it's just not exactly what I wanted in the Microtech or in the Action as far as getting to it and that sort of thing. I don't dislike it. I don't know. I thought better of it. I love how easy the Action is, and like a lot of people say it's like an access lock, and I guess it is to a certain degree, but I would agree. It kind of, to me at least, feels more like the Mannix kind of lock from when I'm handling it. But anyway, enough thoughts on the Microtech. I appreciate Chuck Nunface loaning this in to me, and I'm going to send it back to him. That's just a quick overview from my opinion of the Amphibian, at least. I haven't handled any other Microtechs with this lock, and for the life of me, I can't think of what this lock's called, but we'll just call it the bar lock. How about that? But while we was talking about direware, Evan sent me a direware, which was Steve's, and Steve actually did a video about him getting rid of it and getting a slip joint. So Evan sent this basically in for some mod work right away. So it's got a little, what do you call these little things? Stabber grabber, palm annoyance thing. This also has studs on it. Evan apparently is left-handed, which I didn't know until just now. I don't know how I didn't know that, but like there's quite a few lefties out there. Sean, Carco, quite a few lefties out there that I'm friends with that are biased. I mean, a lot of you guys that are left-handed can use right hands anyhow, but a couple things that he wanted done with the point removed off of this. He wants this has studs from the factory, and I guess he says it snags on him, and he's left-handed actuating it anyhow. So I guess for him, it's harder to do the thumb stud. It's still easy for me to use my left hand for it. The finger flick's damn near impossible for me on the left hand, but I'm also not left-handed. So we're going to change studs out on it. And then from the factory, I'm going to zoom in so you can see it better. How about that? Let's do this. Does that show it? Maybe it does. So if you look on this pivot, it looks like it's scratched, but it's trying to mimic this. It looks like he tried to mimic the same pattern he did here with the same diameter as like that fitting for the Torx. That's kind of what I'm seeing, but it came from the factory that way, which is kind of odd because it does look like it's scratched right there. I mean, he could have just put a flat on it and then put that pattern on it, and it probably would have made more sense. But hey, it is what it is. So everyone wants that removed, so we'll get rid of that for him too. All this stuff, now that I got, you know, I have to get more tooling, of course, but now that I got to lay the mill, I'm moving into doing more stuff like this for people. But size comparison, because if you're like me and like you've heard of the S Mini but have no idea how small this thing is, it surprised me, it really surprised me with how small this was compared to the regular Solo. So, you know, I'm not straight up and down, obviously, but you can see the S Mini is a little guy, I'm just going to reverse him around so you can kind of see angle-wise. Like, it's a little bitty guy. Let's set them on top of each other. Why not? So it's a little fella. He's a little guy. So it's not like the S90. The S90 to me is like a size where I can still get my hands on it, feel comfortable doing all hard use. This guy is a little bit smaller than even that. So Solo is definitely my size. The S90 I can kind of deal with a little bit, especially using that forward choil. This one don't really have a forward choil. You can kind of use that trigger on it, but otherwise usually regulated to the back of it. So a little bit smaller of a knife for me, but just so that in case you're like me and had never seen a Mini before, since I got him here, my bro Steve sent me a couple knives in to do. This is his DBS Hex, but Hest rather. So you can see even compared to the Hest, like it's, you know, a little bit chunkier thickness wise, but like handle width, even this Hest has more room than that does. So, and the Hest is not a big knife. This is not an urban Hest, this is a regular Hest. Speaking of which, well, I got it here. I did a regrind for him. New studs for him because the other studs were like ground down, and by the time I tried to take it out, someone Loctite it, red Loctite it, I believe, and it snapped the stud off. Also, this one had horrible action to start with, so we tried to tune it up a little bit for him, give it a little bit better of a action there. So That was the DPS for Hess, or DPS Hess for Steve. This is also with Steve's, which I believe was Skaz before it was Steve's. 308. It had when it came to me, it had a broke tip and it was all kind of gouged up on the edge of it. So we just kind of did a little shortening and cleaned up that backbone, reground it. I was thinking about, I had thought about angling that tip back a little more instead of the big belly in the front, angling it back and kind of making it more of a, you know, I guess like that drop point. But or I could bring this down, but if I bring it down, the more it shortens the blade length. So I don't know. You're always, when you're working with blades that are broken already, and you can kind of see back in here, this is where he had sharpened it before, so it kind of looks funny back in here on both sides, but that's just how it was sharpened when it came to me. So I tried to blend it the best I could. But Steve, I got an idea for you, man. So you got plenty of room on the end of this thing, right? There's probably, I don't know, 3/8, 7/16 on the end of that frame right there. We should just chop it at the end of that, where it attaches the clip, come back to there and just whack it right off and get rid of some of this extra. Let me know if you want to do that, man, because that'd be pretty easy to do, I think, and then put a little chamfer back on it, refinish it all kind of right there. But that's up to you, Let me know what you want to do. So I think that's about everything. Did I mention that thing for Parker? Yeah, okay. So, yeah, that's pretty much all the work I got done. I told y'all pretty much it's going to be slow for the next week or two till I get everything figured out over there. Like wiring all that shop and stuff up, it wasn't super easy. So, I figured it all out. I probably should have took you through it. But I also got a thank you to Cornbread, who's helping me try to dial in what's going on with the CNC out there. Also, for you guys that are interested in buying knives, I put it last week that Tom Ritter was selling that Medford RMP. If you haven't seen that before, I've made that scale for that sucker. It's been a while now, maybe, I was going to say maybe a year ago, maybe a little more than a year ago. I made that scale. But Tom's looking to sell that. So if any of you guys are interested in that, hit him up on Facebook or hit me up if you don't know Tom. He's another YouTuber. Go watch his stuff if you're interested in that sort of stuff. And the other one that I found was, I don't know the guy, but he mentioned that he has a Satu DLC that's in mint condition. And what he's talking about is factory edge still, like no marks on it. Like, I don't know that he ever carried it. He said 2 or 3 times he might have like cut something with it, but a mint condition Satu DLC, full tie, obviously. So if any of you guys are interested, he's wanting $600 for it, but let me know and I'll try to hook you up with him if you want that. Those deals do not come around that very often. So if you're interested in that full tie DLC, message me and I'll try to connect you with him, because if one of you guys don't end up buying it, you know I'm going to end up buying it because someone else is eventually going to come down the road and want another one and I'll have it sitting there. I don't necessarily need it, but I'm not going to let a good deal like that pass up where, you just don't find these things that much anymore. So huge opportunity to get mint DLC. Now, once again, don't know the dude, so you gotta do your own research as far as like whether you're gonna do it or not. But I don't want to bust my 40 days up, so y'all help me by one of y'all buying that Satu. All right, let me flip it around real quick. All right, the little one's starting to get herself in trouble, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off. I know this is a hodgepodge, weird video. Sometimes we gotta do things differently, right? So it's mid-afternoon here already. I got ton more stuff to get on hold of, but I'm gonna go and call it that week. Call it a week, not the week, a week. Hope y'all have a good week and hope to see you again here next weekend. Later, y'all.